I'm Hewins.
And I'm Son. And we are the father and son filmmaking duo here to help you learn how to make a movie, write your screenplay of your dreams, and make it all come true, like we're doing with Made with Love, our current movie project that is being crowdfunded right now. You can go to madewithlovethemovie.com and actually be a part of the Made with Love family.
Right. It's being made by you.
Yeah,
with your love.
Over 3,000 people have donated over $200,000. So that's like an average of $50 a person. We're getting a lot of people who just want to be a part of this. And there's not even they're not expecting perks or anything. It's just you want to call this movie your own and be a part of this journey with us. And we will show a clip in this video of made with a little synopsis animatic so you can get an idea, a little taste of the story. But we would love for you to join on this. The screenplay has won over 40 awards at film festivals worldwide. Yes, you can submit your screenplays to film festivals, so please do that. But just saying that so you know that we do have a bit of authority on this matter. You wrote the screenplay. I helped. I contributed a little bit to it. And also we have the co-director of Jesus Revolution, Brent McCorkle, the co-director and composer of Jesus Revolution, might I add, which that movie gained $50 million in the box office.
That's right. So very successful.
So this is a big project, and we want to share our knowledge along the way with you. Today we're answering questions about character, creating believable character. And we got these questions in from a filmmaker in Uganda at the John 316 Film School. So shout out to Caroline for these awesome questions. If you have questions you want us to answer, whether it's about the writing process or you're funding your movie, all the way up to getting it made and seen on the screen, we're the people to answer your questions. So send it in the comments. Okay, so here it is. What process does one follow while creating a character?
It's a great question.
Before we answer this, let's just roll the clip real quick.
Or the quip.
Let's quip the quip of Made with Love so you can get an idea, because we're going to reference this as an example throughout this episode. So
roll the clip.
When Bert Morrow lost his wife and baby during childbirth, his dreams of a life filled with joy burned out. Over his lifetime, he's clung to one last ember of hope, opening his own cafe and losing himself in his love for the culinary arts. Now that the arduous days of teaching are behind him, he can finally begin to work on his lifelong dream. Then, fate steps in when Jay, his neighbor with Down syndrome, knocks at his door looking for a friend. Jay invites himself in for a meal, and Bert reluctantly complies, but gets more than he bargained for when Jay begins to visit daily. Between cooking with Jay and keeping an eye on him while waiting for his mother to get home from work, Bert tries to perfect his recipes while preparing to open the cafe. The more time Bert spends with Jay, the more Jay's love begins to melt his heart. But just when Bert thinks he has a handle on his new situation, Jay's mother, Wendy, is arrested. Bert takes Jay in temporarily and struggles to keep the plans for his restaurant moving forward. Frustrated by all the interruptions, Bert finally gets his peace and quiet after Wendy is released and returns to take Jay. However, Jay's absence has the opposite effect than expected. Bert's world seems suddenly dim and colorless. When Bert discovers that Jay has an abusive home life, he does something unexpected. He puts his own plans on the back burner and decides to put up the money he saved for the cafe to hire a lawyer to fight for Jay's custody. Bert feels something stirring within him that he hasn't felt in years. Empathy, hope, and love. But despite his best efforts, the court rules that Jay will remain in a county facility. Bert's heartbroken, and he loses the lease on his restaurant. But just as Bert's world comes crashing down around him, the community rallies together to raise the money to save his cafe. With renewed purpose, Bert opens his cafe and his heart, employing individuals with different abilities. But he can't deny that a part of him feels like it's missing without Jay there. One day, Wendy walks in, looking professional and put together. Bert assumes she's looking for a job and tells her that he only hires individuals with different abilities. She assures him that she has a good job, but she wants Bert to know that she's changed and she's a good person. She confides in him that she had been given a choice to terminate her pregnancy, yet she still deliberately chose to keep Jay. She gestures for someone to come out from around the corner. It's Jay! Bert's world is finally bright again. It's a happy reunion for everyone.
What process did you follow while creating the characters in Made with Love?
Well, first off, I had to think about, what the theme of the story was going to be, right? I had to think about what would drive the characters. It depends on the screenplay I'm writing. I think I wrote one called Without a Sound, and the initial idea came from seeing a road sign that on the same road sign it said North Carolina School for the Deaf and like North Carolina State Penitentiary. And it just struck me funny. I was like, really, those two things at the same exit? I wonder if they're like right across the street from each other. What if they were? And what if a prison riot happened and some of the prisoners went into the school and started trying to take hostages? How would those kids work together, to get out of that situation? That would be really dramatic. So I had that whole theme and idea concept, but then I was like, I need a protagonist. What would make this really dramatic? What kind of character could help drive that story forward? And I thought, all right, what if I had this young man who was deaf and he had been in a public school somewhere and that system was failing him. He was a little bit of a rebel, and his mother put him in this school, this private school for the deaf and blind, and he kind of went resisting. Like he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to make friends. But then this thing happened, this event happens, and it thrust him into having to work with these other kids. And then how his character arcs from being this rebellious, kind of bratty kid or whatever to being a very loving friend to all these other kids because they had to go through this process. So that's just one idea that I had. But for Made with Love, I thought this was inspired by a children's book. And
that's really where you got the character from.
Yeah, and there were two characters in that. One that was kind of this loner, kind of grumpy curmudgeon type character, and then this other very lovable character that just wanted to enjoy the other person's company. And so that's how it came about with Made with Love. I had the old man character who was inspired by an elementary school teacher of mine, and then the other lead character is inspired by our friend Jay, who has Down syndrome. And Jay's very lovable, unconditional love, just, is a joy to be around. And so I put those two together, and it's like kind of an odd couple type situation. And that's what spurred me on to start developing that character.
Man, that's great. That's great stuff right there. Yeah. So you had the external sort of the descriptions of the character of this home ec teacher who's retired and he's jaded. And then you've got Jay, this young man with Down syndrome who is his neighbor, But then you went to that kid's book to sort of find the internal core of these characters.
Right. Yeah. And so, then Mr. Morrow, his backstory is that he had lost his wife and child during childbirth. And that's what caused him to kind of go within himself, become jaded. He had taken this job at this school as a home ec teacher to help support his family that he was about to have. And he gave up kind of his dream of opening a cafe to support his family. But then when he loses his family, he's stuck in this job, ends up staying in it for a long time. And you could see how that could happen. And then finally, after 35, 40 years, he's finally going to retire. And he thinks, hey, I'm going to open this cafe. So he has now what he thinks is his purpose or dream in life. But then in comes Jay, who is a kid of a single mom that's really kind of having a rough life, not always the best environment. And Jay's just looking for a friend, and he meets Mr. Morrow. And so, that's kind of how that started.
Awesome. How best can one introduce changes of a character's life? How can one bring out the different changes the character is to face in the script?
Yeah, so, I mean, just like the situation with Mr. Morrow, we set him up in what is his world, his view, and then we introduce this other character that comes in and basically turns his world upside down. And, Mr. Morrow's thinking that he's retired, he's now got the time and the money to go and open his dream cafe, and then into his life comes Jay, and that spins him around and makes him start questioning, his real purpose in life as they develop their friendship, and he sees the true love of this young man with Down syndrome. So, that's one way, is by using other characters that come in.
Absolutely.
External objects or obstacles that can cause that character to find their true strength,
Right.
their resolve. Can I do this? If it's a guy that's struggling to get to the top of a mountain, and a boulder falls on, breaks his leg, then he's going to have to find some internal fortitude that he may not have had when he started the journey.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think the important thing there is figuring out what lesson are you trying to teach? What behavior are you trying to change in the main character, and then that will determine what events need to happen to them. With Mr. Morrow, you found it from that kid's book. It was, all right, this character who is sort of grumpy and, wanting the time to themselves.
They think they want to be alone.
Right. Because of what has happened to them in their life.
Right.
And, so now that you found that behavior, it's like, all right, this Mr. Morrow character, you've got this behavior that it's like, this has got to go. Like if you were just like judging Mr. Morrow, it's like, dude, you're trying to be isolated. You're trying to like live this life of like, you want to just be this hermit in your cafe and,
Yeah, so he was kind of running from his past. He lost his wife and child during childbirth. So, you can see he has a wound there. And even though he worked all his years as a teacher around children, because he really had a heart of a teacher, a heart of a father, but then he's finally like, he just can't relate to the kids nowadays, can't even relate to the other teachers. So once he retires, he thinks, I just want to be alone, just want to do my cafe. But God had other plans for him and said, no, wait, I've got a bigger purpose for you.
Right.
I'm going to end up giving you your cafe, but you're also going to learn to have a relationship with all these young people and the individuals with Down syndrome. And that's what makes the beauty of the story.
Absolutely. So then how do you make your character believable?
Do
they need to save a cat?
It's true. You got to save a cat in the first 10 minutes by page 7.5.
People are going to not know that you're joking.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No, how do you make your character believable? You just have to know human nature, and you really have to question yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've gone back through my script. I think screenplay writing is rewriting, and I think there's even a book titled that. And it's true. You've got to go back in and you've got to question things. You need to know human nature. You need to study human nature, psychology, and just be aware of people that are around you and watch them, study them and think, all right, why are they doing that? What would motivate them to do that? And, what happens is a lot of people get into writing these really flat characters or stereotypes or whatever. Stereotypes are there for a reason, but, sometimes you need to break those molds and go, all right, well, why would this guy do that? And that's where you write these backstories. You have a good, strong backstory, and you know what your character would do if faced with this event or if faced with this challenge or this person or this decision. So you really need to do the research to develop those characters to make them believable.
That's so good. You just said, why would they do this thing?
Yeah.
That why question, that alone will help you so much when you're coming up with your character. Just journaling to yourself. You don't have to do this in the screenplay document. Just do this on pen and paper, posing these why questions to yourself. And you can do what would be an archetypal character, that maybe seems like it's been done all these times. It could be a dad who wasn't there for their kid growing up, and now the story is bringing them back to the kid or something. That's something that isn't new, but why weren't they there for their kid before?
Yeah, and we watch so many movies, and you'll see a character and you get to know them, then all of a sudden they do something, you go, he wouldn't do that.
Right.
Really? So you got to give them a reason. And it's fine if they do something out of character, but you need to make sure that the audience understands that, okay, well, he's doing this out of character for some reason. He's trying something different. He's trying to be spontaneous to impress somebody or whatever it might be. So so definitely ask those questions. Why is this character doing that?
Yes, and to give an example, the movie Finding Nemo, the Pixar film, in it, Marlin is this overprotective father, and Nemo gets abducted by a scuba diver and their fish, and he gets taken to a faraway another side of the ocean, and Marlin has to across the ocean to go find his son. But like I said, Marlin is this very overprotective, fearful. He's fearful of everything beyond his anemone, as the clownfish like to live in anemones. And so he's used to his safe little world. And
which is beautiful that they wrote him as a clownfish and not some other fish, because they have that protection of the anemone.
That's right. And he's got to go on this whole journey to go find Nemo, thus the title Finding Nemo. And originally the film was edited in this way where we find out the backstory of what happened to Marlin to make him so fearful. But we find it out, it was as a flashback about 75% of the way into the story. He's already set off to go find Nemo and everything. We've already set up that he's this overprotective, fearful guy. But when test audiences watched that, they hated Marlin. They thought, well, why is this guy so overprotective? It's, I don't like that.
Yeah, what's his problem?
So what they did was simply cut that flashback, move it to the very beginning. It's the first thing you see. You see Marlin moving in with his wife to their new anemone in this supposedly safe neighborhood. They've got all the little fish eggs of their babies that they're waiting for them to hatch. And out of the blue, a barracuda comes up, attacks, and kills Marlin's wife.
And all the babies except one.
Except for Nemo.
So now he has this one precious gift left. And so that's why he's overprotective. So we get it. We understand it. We forgive him for that. Right. And we pull for him.
And that's what makes him believable.
Yeah, that's right.
So boom, that is how you write characters, create them, and make them believable. Please let us know if you have more questions that you want to learn about the screenwriting or filmmaking process, and we'd be happy to answer. Thanks for standing with us for this long. And please visit madewithlovethemovie.com if you have liked what you've heard about the story of Made with Love, and you just want to see a really awesome, entertaining movie, or you really want to make a positive difference in the world. Supporting this movie is definitely going to do that. So visit madewithlovethemovie.com and join the family. Join us.
Right. Make it your movie.
That's right. So, thanks for watching. Have a happy day. All right, did you take our picture now?
Yeah.
How do I stand?
All right.
Like this? That's awkward.
That's awkward.